I never thought I'd find myself in a situation where I'd be writing a story like this. My name is Jake, and I've been married to my wife, Emily, for nearly 5 years. We met at a mutual friend's party, and for a while everything felt perfect. We clicked instantly, shared dreams, and built a life together. I was proud of our relationship, and I thought we were happy. But like everything in life, things took a turn, one that I never saw coming. The cracks started to show a few months ago. It was subtle at first. Emily, who was always so communicative, began to spend an excessive amount of time on her phone. I'd catch her texting late at night, and when I'd ask about it, she'd brush it off, saying it was work-related. I should have trusted my instincts more, but I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that everything was fine. Things escalated when I had to miss the company retreat due to a family emergency. My father underwent surgery, and as I rushed to the hospital, Emily seemed oddly detached. She assured me she'd be fine on her own at the retreat, and I wanted to believe that too. I didn't want to burden her with my worries while I dealt with my own family crisis. While I was at the hospital, my coworkers were at the retreat, and it was during this time that everything changed. They had a great time, posting photos and videos on social media. I was scrolling through, trying to keep my spirits up, when I came across a video that made my heart drop. It was from the hotel bar, and it showed Emily laughing, leaning into a guy I recognized from work, Mark. I didn't think much of it at first. It was a corporate event, they were probably just having fun. But then the video took a turn. I watched in disbelief as Emily leaned in, kissed Mark right on the lips, and pulled back, laughing. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. I replayed the video a dozen times, hoping I'd missed something, hoping this was just a misunderstanding. I tried to convince myself that maybe it was innocent, maybe it meant nothing. But deep down, I knew better. When I confronted her, few days later, it was one of the hardest moments of my life. I waited until she got home, my heart racing, adrenaline pumping through my veins. I couldn't let her avoid this. As soon as she walked in, I pulled out my phone and showed her the video. Her face turned pale, and for a moment I thought I'd see guilt in her eyes. Instead, she just stared at the screen, shock etched on her face. "Jake, listen," she stammered, her voice feeble. "It's not what it looks like." "What do you mean it's not what it looks like? You kissed him, Emily." I was furious, my voice rising. I didn't know if I was angrier at her or at myself for not seeing it sooner. She started to weave a story about how it was just a playful moment, that it didn't mean anything, that Mark was just a friend who mistook their friendly banter for something more. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. The excuses poured out of her, each one more ludicrous than the last. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. "You're lying," I finally said, the pain settling in my chest like a heavy weight. "You can't expect me to believe that was just a joke." Her response was a mix of defiance and desperation. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just caught up in the moment. We were having fun." I wanted to scream, to tell her how much her betrayal hurt, to make her understand the depth of my pain. Instead, I felt hollow. All I could do was stand there, feeling the walls close in around me. The trust I had in her was shattered, and I could barely process the whirlwind of emotions surging through me. The shock slowly transformed into rage, then sadness, then confusion. What was I supposed to do now? Part of me wanted to fight for our marriage, to believe that maybe we could fix this. But another part was screaming for me to walk away, to protect whatever dignity I had left. As I stood there, realizing the woman I thought I knew was gone, I made a decision. I would not allow myself to be a victim of her lies. I needed a plan, a way to make her understand the consequences of her actions. Maybe revenge wasn't the right word, but something deep inside me stirred. I wouldn't confront her just yet. I had to think this through. After that disastrous confrontation, I spent the following days in a haze. I went through the motions of my life, but my mind was elsewhere, on Emily and the betrayal. I couldn't eat, I couldn't focus on work, and my friends noticed my disheveled appearance and distracted demeanor. They asked if I was okay, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them what was really going on. I felt trapped in my own thoughts. Every day, I replayed that video in my mind, dissecting every moment, every laugh, every kiss. It felt surreal, like I was living in a nightmare. I couldn't make sense of it all. How could she do this to me? I'd always been supportive, attentive, and loving. I put my heart into our relationship, and for what? To be humiliated like this. I needed to gather more information. I decided to dig deeper, not only into Emily's actions, but also into her relationship with Mark. I started by talking to a few coworkers who had been at the retreat. I didn't mention the video or the kiss. I simply asked them how things went. The responses were casual and filled with inside jokes, but one comment stood out. A coworker, Sarah, mentioned how Emily and Mark seemed to have a special connection during the retreat. They were definitely the life of the party, she laughed, but it felt like a jab to my gut. That was it. I had to know more. I became a silent observer, lurking in the shadows of their interactions at work. I noticed how they exchanged glances, how they laughed at each other's jokes. It felt like a sickening game of cat and mouse, and I was the one left in the dark. Each time I saw them together, my blood boiled. The idea of them laughing, flirting, and sharing moments while I was going through hell made my blood run cold. After a week of this torment, I decided it was time to take action. I needed to devise a plan that would expose Emily for who she really was. I knew she would try to sweep this under the rug, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. The thought of revenge lingered in my mind, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I needed her to feel the weight of what she had done. I reached out to a friend of mine who worked as a private investigator. I told him a vague version of my situation, leaving out the intimate details while hinting that I suspected something was off with my wife. He agreed to help me, and soon after, I had a covert operation in place. His plan involved discreetly following Emily and Mark during work hours, gathering evidence of their interactions. The following days felt agonizingly slow as I waited for results, but soon enough I received a text from my friend. "I have what you're looking for." My heart raced as I waited for him to send me the footage. I was both terrified and exhilarated. I needed to see it, the proof that would allow me to confront her again, but this time with undeniable evidence. When the video arrived, I spent hours watching it, my emotions swinging from anger to heartbreak. It showed Emily and Mark at a coffee shop, laughing and flirting, their body language so intimate it was hard to watch. They stood close together, shared inside jokes, and the way she bit her lip while looking at him made me feel sick. It was clear that this was more than just a friendly connection. I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I wasn't going to confront her about this video. No, I needed to do something bigger. I wanted her to understand how her actions affected me, and how they would affect her. I decided on a strategy that would hit her where it hurt. I would expose her lies to her friends and family, forcing her to face the consequences in front of those who love her. The night I planned to confront her, I set the stage. I invited a few of our mutual friends over, telling them it was just a casual get-together. I could see the confusion on Emily's face when she walked in, seeing familiar faces that didn't quite fit the mold of a regular hangout. She probably sensed that something was off, but I kept my demeanor calm, acting as if everything was normal. As the night went on, I casually brought up the retreat, baiting her to discuss it. I watched her squirm as I asked about her time with Mark, and I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out how to spin her lies. Finally, I couldn't hold back. I stood up and addressed everyone, my heart pounding. "You all deserve to know the truth about Emily," I said, my voice steady. "This isn't just a casual night among friends. I have something I need to share." I pulled out my phone and played the video for everyone to see. Gasps filled the room, and I felt a mixture of satisfaction and dread wash over me. Emily's face turned red, a mix of anger and humiliation as she realized she had been caught. "What the hell, Jake? You're embarrassing me," she shouted, but her words fell flat against the shocked faces of our friends. But I pressed on. "No, Emily, you embarrassed me. You chose to betray my trust, and now everyone knows." The tension in the room was palpable, and I could feel Emily's desperation. She tried to defend herself, but her excuses crumbled under the weight of the video and the scrutiny of our friends. I stood my ground, refusing to let her manipulate the situation any further. In that moment, it felt like I was finally taking control back. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. I wanted her to face the consequences, not just for herself, but for us. And as I looked around at the faces of our friends, some shocked, some sympathetic, I realized how important it was for me to stand my ground. This was just the beginning. The aftermath of that night unfolded like a dark cloud hanging over my life. After I played the video, Emily tried to salvage her reputation, but the damage was done. Our friends, who once praised her as the perfect wife, looked at her with a mixture of pity and disbelief. Some offered me their support, while others awkwardly tried to navigate the tension in the room. It felt surreal, like I was watching a scene from a movie, except this was my life, and it was a nightmare. Emily stormed out, her face a mask of rage and humiliation. I didn't follow her immediately. I stood there, surrounded by friends, feeling a strange mix of relief and anger. I had exposed the truth, but at what cost? I couldn't shake off the gnawing feeling that our lives would never be the same. After the gathering, I retreated to my bedroom, feeling drained. Emily returned home hours later, and I could tell she had been crying. Her eyes were red, and for a moment I felt a flicker of empathy. But then I remembered the betrayal, the lies, and the humiliation she caused me. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, her voice shaky but firm. "I don't think there's much left to say, Emily," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't want to show any weakness, not after what she had done. "No, please," she begged, stepping closer. "You have to understand, it wasn't supposed to happen like that. It was just a kiss, just a mistake." "Just a mistake," I scoffed, incredulous. "You think I'll let you downplay this? You were kissing him, laughing, looking like you were in a relationship with him. I thought we were in a good place, Jake." "I never meant to hurt you," she pleaded, her tone shifting from defensive to desperate. "But you did hurt me, Emily. You shattered my trust," I shouted, emotions boiling over. "Do you have any idea how humiliating this has been for me? You let your affair spill over to our friends, and now I'm the one carrying the burden." She went quiet then, her shoulders slumping. I could see guilt wash over her face, but it wasn't enough. Guilt didn't fix what she had done. I wanted to make her understand that this wasn't just a fleeting moment of weakness. It was a reflection of who she was, the choices she had made. "I need time to think," I finally said, my voice calmer but still resolute. "You say it was a mistake, but this goes beyond that. You need to figure out what you want, and I need to figure out if I want any part of this anymore." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I felt a twinge of sadness for the woman I once loved, but that feeling was overshadowed by a growing resolve. I wasn't going to be a doormat, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate my emotions. I needed to take control of my life again. In the following weeks, things were tense. We lived in the same house but existed in separate worlds. I immersed myself in work, trying to distance myself from the emotional turmoil at home. I leaned on my friends for support, and they were there for me in ways I hadn't expected. They listened, offered advice, and reminded me of my self-worth. Meanwhile, Emily seemed to retreat into a shell. She stopped her usual bubbly interactions and spent most of her time alone in our bedroom, a sharp contrast to the vibrant woman I once knew. I could see that she was struggling with the aftermath of her actions, but I still felt no sympathy. She made her choices, and now she had to deal with the consequences. One night while I was watching TV in the living room, Emily came downstairs. She looked vulnerable, her eyes puffy from crying. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked softly. I hesitated, weighing my options. Part of me wanted to hear her out to see if she had come to any realizations, but another part wanted to maintain my distance. "What is there to talk about, Emily?" I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I've been thinking a lot about what I did," she began, her voice trembling. "I know I messed up, I can't change the past, but I want to make this right. I want to work on us." "Working on us? How can we work on anything when you've already betrayed my trust?" I shot back. "You've crossed a line that I don't think can be uncrossed." "I know, and I'm sorry. I was stupid, and I let my emotions get the better of me. I wasn't thinking," she said, desperation creeping into her voice. "But I love you, Jake. I want to fix this." Her words hung in the air, and for a brief moment I saw a flicker of the woman I fell in love with. But those moments were fleeting, overshadowed by the months of lies and betrayal. "Love isn't enough, Emily. You shattered my trust, and building it back will take time, if it's even possible." "I'll do whatever it takes," she promised, her voice growing stronger. I'll go to counseling, I'll get help, I'll show you that I can be the person you deserve. I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to give her another chance, but the other part of me screamed that I'd be a fool to fall for her promises again. You need to realize that I'm not going to wait for you to fix this. I need to protect myself, and I won't be drawn back into this until I see genuine change. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. Just please don't give up on me yet. I'll prove myself. I watched her walk back up to our bedroom, her shoulders slumped in defeat. As much as I wanted to believe her, the bitterness inside me was hard to shake. I felt a weight lifting, knowing I wasn't going to be blindsided again, but I also knew that every day would require a conscious effort to maintain my resolve. The next few weeks became a waiting game. Emily began attending counseling, trying to make amends for her actions. I was initially skeptical, but I had to admit there was a change in her demeanor. She was more present, more willing to engage in difficult conversations. Yet, despite these tentative steps toward healing, I was still on guard. I was ready to forgive, but I was starting to see that she might be willing to fight for our marriage. But for every step forward she took, I felt the need to protect myself even more. I began to contemplate what I truly wanted moving forward, weighing the possibility of forgiveness against the reality of betrayal. It was a confusing time, filled with uncertainty and doubt. I had to consider whether this was a journey worth undertaking or if it was time to say goodbye for good. Regardless of what I decided, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her hurt me again. As the weeks dragged on, I found myself caught in an emotional tug-of-war. Emily was putting in the effort, attending counseling, reading self-help books, and even writing heartfelt notes to express her feelings. I could see she was trying, but every time I saw her, I was reminded of the betrayal. The wounds were fresh, and even as she sought to mend things, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered. The nights were the hardest. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind. Could I really forgive her? Was I willing to risk the possibility of getting hurt again? I had spent years building my life with her, and now I was faced with the stark reality that everything could change in an instant. One evening, after another long day at work, I returned home to find Emily sitting at the kitchen table, a fresh batch of cookies in front of her. The smell was comforting, a reminder of happier times. She smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I made these for you," she said, her voice tentative. I took a seat across from her, looking at the cookies but feeling a knot in my stomach. "Thanks," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. I wasn't ready to softening my defenses. "Jake, I want to talk about us again," she said, her eyes searching mine. "I know things are still tense, but I feel like we're making progress. I'm learning a lot in therapy about myself and why I made the choices I did." I studied her, my heart battling my mind. "And what have you learned?" I asked, curiosity getting the better of me. "I've learned that I've been selfish. I got caught up in wanting attention and validation, and I didn't think about the consequences. I thought it was harmless at first, just flirting, but I crossed a line I shouldn't have," she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. It was a start. I had to give her credit for acknowledging her mistakes, but I couldn't help but feel skeptical. "Acknowledging it is one thing," I said, "but how do I know it won't happen again? How do I know you truly understand what you've done?" "I promise I'll do everything I can to prove to you that I mean it," she urged, her eyes wide with sincerity. "I don't want to lose you, Jake. I want our life back. I want to be the wife you deserve." My heart ached at her words. I wanted to believe her, wanted to hope that things could return to how they were. But the scars of betrayal were deep, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to take the leap of faith again. "Let's take it slow," I finally said, trying to be fair but remaining guarded. "I need to see that you're committed to changing, and I need to feel safe again. I can't go back to how things were before. Trust isn't something that can be rebuilt overnight." She nodded, relief washing over her face. "I understand, and I'm okay with that. I'll show you that I'm serious about making things right." As we moved forward, I noticed some positive changes in Emily's behavior. She was more attentive, asking about my day and initiating conversations that had nothing to do with her. We even started to have moments of laughter, remnants of the connection we once had. But every time things felt normal, A voice in my head would remind me of the betrayal. One weekend, I decided to spend some time with friends, hoping to get away from the tension at home. We ended up at a local bar, where I found myself engulfed in familiar faces and laughter. It was refreshing, and for a moment, I forgot about my worries. But as I sipped my drink, I couldn't help but glance at my phone, half hoping for a text from Emily. When I finally checked, I saw that she had sent me a message. "Hey, just wanted to let you know that I'm at a coffee shop with Mark. We're just catching up about the retreat." My heart sank. I knew she had mentioned wanting to maintain a friendship with Mark, but the thought of them together still made my blood boil. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "You're not doing this," I muttered under my breath, feeling the anger rise. I knew I had to confront her again. I couldn't let this slide. Instead of responding immediately, I decided to finish my drink and go home. I needed to see for myself what was happening. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I found them sitting together, deep in conversation. Emily was animated, laughing at something Mark said, and for a moment I felt an overwhelming urge to walk away and pretend I hadn't seen anything, but I couldn't. I had to confront this once and for all. I approached their table, forcing a neutral expression despite the turmoil inside. "Hey, mind if I join you?" I asked, my voice steady. Emily looked surprised but quickly masked it with a smile. "Oh, Jake, I didn't expect to see you here." Mark looked a little taken aback, but he recovered quickly. "Hey man, good to see you." He stood up, offering me a handshake. I took a seat, trying to maintain my composure while my insides churned. "So what's the topic of discussion?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light but unable to hide the tension in my voice. "Just talking about the retreat and how much fun we had," Mark replied, his tone casual. I forced a smile, but inside I was seething. "Fun, huh? You two seem pretty close." Emily glanced at me, her expression shifting from surprise to irritation. "It's not like that, Jake. We're just friends catching up." "Just friends? Is that what you call it after everything?" I shot back, unable to restrain myself. Mark shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension. "Look, man, it was all in good fun. Nothing happened between us," he said, trying to defuse the situation. I pointedly turned to Emily. "You said you wanted to be better, yet here we are, and you're still hanging out with him like nothing happened. How am I supposed to trust you?" Emily's eyes filled with frustration. "You're being unreasonable. I can't just cut everyone out of my life because you're uncomfortable." "Uncomfortable? It's more than that. You kissed him, Emily." My voice was rising, and I could feel the weight of our friend's eyes on us. "I'm trying to make amends. I thought we could be civil." She fired back, her voice shaky but resolute. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the full weight of the situation. I was tired of fighting, tired of feeling like I was losing control of my own life. "Maybe I need to rethink this whole thing," I said, more to myself than to her. Emily's face fell, and I could see the realization dawning on her. This wasn't just about the two of us anymore. It was about my ability to trust her again, and that was a long road ahead. As I stood up to leave, I felt a wave of clarity wash over me. I wasn't going to accept anything less than what I deserved. I had taken a step back, given her the benefit of the doubt, but I realized that if she was going to continue seeing Mark, I might have to reconsider the future of our relationship entirely. It was time to put my foot down, and it was time to take back control of my life. I needed to make a decision, not just for me, but for both of us. The confrontation at the coffee shop left me reeling. I drove home in a daze, wrestling with my thoughts. The emotions surged within me: anger, betrayal, confusion. I felt like I was caught in a storm, unable to find solid ground. The idea of Emily continuing to see Mark in any capacity was something I couldn't accept. Yet I also recognized the importance of communication and the necessity to address the underlying issues. When I arrived home, I found Emily sitting on the couch, her expression a mix of anxiety and anticipation. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for another difficult conversation. "Jake," she started, her voice trembling. "I didn't expect you to show up like that. I thought you trusted me to handle things appropriately." "Trust? You say that like it's something we still have," I replied, my voice steady but firm. "Every time you see him or talk to him, it feels like a Betrayal, we can't move forward if you're still hanging out with him. I didn't intend for it to come off that way. I want to maintain some semblance of normalcy at work, she pleaded. Mark is a colleague and I thought we could just be friends again. Friends, I echoed incredulously. How do you expect me to believe you're just friends after what happened? It's not that simple, Emily. You need to understand that this is not just about you anymore. You put me through hell. Her eyes filled with tears and I could see the conflict within her. I see that, but I'm trying to fix things between us. I thought maintaining some friendships would help us both adjust. Adjust? I shot back. How can I adjust when you're still clinging to the very person who caused the problem in the first place? You're making it harder for me to trust you. Then what do you want me to do? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. I'm willing to make sacrifices, but pushing Mark away completely feels extreme. I paused, considering my next words carefully. I want you to show me that you understand the gravity of what you've done. Trust is earned, not given, and right now, you're making it impossible for me to see any path forward. Emily wiped her tears, her determination returning. I promise I will do whatever it takes. I'll talk to Mark and set boundaries. I don't want to lose you, Jake. I'll show you I can be better. Talk to Mark. I frowned, skepticism flooding back. Will that even be enough? I need to see actions, not just words. I need to know that you're willing to make hard choices for the sake of our marriage. Then give me a chance, she said softly, her voice breaking. I promise I'll put you first from now on. Just give me a chance to prove that I can change. I stared into her eyes, searching for any sign of sincerity. A part of me wanted to believe her, but another part was still hesitant, scarred from the betrayal. I took a deep breath, knowing I couldn't make any rash decisions. I'll think about it. But I can't promise anything. The following days were filled with uncertainty. Emily and I danced around each other, both of us trying to navigate the fragile state of our relationship. I could see she was making an effort, being more present, initiating conversations, and even planning little surprises for me. But the shadow of her betrayal loomed large, and I struggled to shake off the bitterness I felt. I decided to seek advice from my therapist, hoping for some perspective. I explained the complexities of my situation, detailing Emily's attempts at reconciliation and my hesitations. It sounds like she's genuinely trying, my therapist observed, but you have to prioritize your own emotional well-being. Trust is essential in any relationship, and if you don't feel secure, it will only lead to more resentment. I nodded, absorbing the advice. But how do I rebuild that trust? Can it even be done? Rebuilding trust takes time, she said. It's a process, and it requires commitment from both sides. It's important to set clear boundaries and communicate your needs. If she's serious about making things right, she should understand that. I left the session feeling a little more grounded. I knew what I had to do. It was time to sit down with Emily again and have a candid conversation about our future. I needed to set boundaries for both of us, not just to protect myself, but to give her a chance to prove she could change. That evening, I found Emily in the living room, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced with a sense of anxiety. "Hey, can we talk?" I asked, my tone serious. "Of course," she replied, her voice trembling with anticipation. "Things can't continue like this," I said, my resolve firm. "I need to set some boundaries regarding your relationship with Mark. You can't see him anymore." She opened her mouth, likely to protest, but I held up my hand. "Let me finish. I know you'll say it's extreme, but from where I stand, it's the only way I can start to rebuild trust. You need to prioritize our relationship over any friendships that threaten it." Emily looked pained, but I pressed on. "This isn't just for me. It's for you too. If you're serious about rebuilding our marriage, you need to show that you can make hard choices." "I understand, Jake," she murmured, her expression conflicted. "But cutting Mark out completely, it feels like I'm throwing away a part of my life." "Maybe that's what it takes to become a better person," I said, my voice firm but compassionate. "I need to feel secure in this relationship again. I can't have you torn between me and someone who hurt us both." She sat in silence, processing my words. "Okay," she finally said, her voice small. "I'll do it. I'll cut him out. But please understand that this is a big shift for me. I don't want to lose you, and I'll do anything to prove that." I felt a flicker of hope, a sign that maybe we could work through this. Then let's take it one step at a time, I replied. But you need to understand that this is just the beginning. I need to see real change. Agreed, she said, determination returning to her voice. I'm committed to making this work, Jake. I love you and I don't want to lose you. In that moment, I saw a glimpse of the woman I fell in love with, the one who was willing to fight for our relationship. It would. Easy, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like we might have a chance at rebuilding our lives together. As the days turned into weeks, I knew that the road ahead would be challenging. But I was ready to take that journey, one step at a time, with the hope that we could find our way back to each other, even after everything that had happened. The following weeks were a testament to the fragility of trust and the resilience of love. Emily and I settled into a routine that was both foreign and familiar. She had followed through on her promise to cut Mark out of her life, and while I initially felt a sense of relief, I also grappled with a whirlwind of emotions: hope, skepticism, and a lingering fear of being hurt again. Emily began attending therapy sessions regularly, and she often shared insights from her meetings. It was clear she was putting in the effort to understand her actions, and I appreciated her honesty during our talks. We started having deeper conversations about our relationship and what we wanted moving forward. It felt like we were peeling back layers of hurt and misunderstanding, slowly revealing the foundation of our love that had been buried beneath the betrayal. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, something we used to do all the time, I glanced at her and realized how much I missed those moments of connection. Emily caught my gaze and smiled softly. I know it's been a long road, but I really appreciate you giving me the chance to prove myself, she said. I'm trying, Emily, I replied, my voice earnest. But it's going to take time. I need to see consistency in your actions. I get that, she said, nodding. I'm committed to making things right. I want to rebuild what we had brick by brick. As the days turned into weeks, we found ourselves navigating the tricky waters of rebuilding trust together. There were difficult moments, of course, times when insecurities would resurface, and I'd find myself questioning whether I was making the right decision by continuing to give her chances. But through it all, I tried to remain open and honest about my feelings. One night, after a particularly emotional conversation, I took a leap of faith and suggested we create a relationship contract. It sounded silly at first, but I believed it could help us outline our expectations and solidify our commitment to each other moving forward. Emily agreed, and we spent the next few evenings drafting it together, outlining our goals, boundaries, and what we needed from one another to feel secure. Let's promise to communicate openly about everything, I suggested. No secrets, no half-truths. Absolutely, she replied, enthusiasm shining in her eyes. And I promise to keep my distance from anyone who threatens our relationship, no matter who they are. As we signed the contract, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was a small step, but it felt significant. We were both acknowledging the work that lay ahead, and we were committing to facing it together. Gradually, I started to feel a shift in our relationship. Emily was more present, genuinely seeking ways to reconnect with me. She planned date nights, even revisiting places that held special memories for us. I began to see her in a new light. She was dedicated, vulnerable, and willing to put in the hard work to prove herself. But even as we made progress, I had to confront my own insecurities. There were days when doubt crept in, and I'd find myself spiraling into thoughts of betrayal. I learned to recognize those moments, reminding myself of the steps we had taken together. With time, I began to feel more at ease with the idea of trusting her again. Then came the day when Emily surprised me with a dinner at our favorite restaurant. The ambience was warm, and as we sat across from each other, I couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia. We reminisced about our early days, the laughter, the adventures, the dreams we shared. Jake, I know I've hurt you and I can't change the past, she said, her voice steady yet emotional. But I want you to know that every day I'm working to be a better person for us. You deserve that. I looked into her eyes, searching for the sincerity I needed to see. I appreciate that, Emily. It's a journey for both of us, but I need to see that commitment reflected in everything you do, not just words. I promise, she said, reaching across the table to grasp my hand. I'm committed to us, and I want to show you that I can be the partner you need. As the night unfolded, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. We shared stories, laughter, and a renewed sense of connection. I realized that while the road ahead would still require hard work and dedication, there was a chance we could navigate it together. In the months that followed, Emily continued to impress me with her dedication. She didn't shy away from difficult discussions, and she actively sought ways to strengthen our bond. We enrolled in couples therapy, where we learned to communicate better and address concerns before they festered. Slowly but surely, I began to feel the weight of the past, while still present, begin to lift. The hurt started to fade, replaced by a cautious optimism about our future. We were building something new, stronger than before, forged in the fire of adversity. One evening, as we sat together, I turned to Emily and said, "I never thought we'd get here after everything that happened. But I see how hard you're trying, and it means a lot." She smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that lit up the room. "Thank you, Jake. I won't take this for granted again. I'm grateful for your willingness to work through this together." In that moment, I knew we were on the right path together as partners who had weathered the storm. It wasn't perfect, and I understood that trust would take time to fully restore, but I was willing to give it a chance. After all, love isn't just about the good times, it's about how we navigate the challenges together. As I reflected on our journey, I realized that while betrayal had altered the course of our relationship, it also provided an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding. I had learned to value open communication, the necessity of vulnerability, and the importance of setting boundaries. Life's unpredictability is often daunting, but it can also lead to unexpected growth. I was beginning to embrace the idea that love, when nurtured, can be resilient. And as we moved forward together, I held on to the hope that we could create a future rooted in honesty, trust, and unconditional support. Whatever lay ahead, I knew we would face it together, hand in hand.